Hey, this is Aphasia Phil, and I'm with Anna, and she is an author, a writer, and her husband has a stroke, and she has a book called Aphasia Readers Book, and now she's an ambassador for National Aphasia Association.
Yes, yes. Thank you for having me, Phil. I'm really thankful to be here today to talk with you about just, the aphasia ambassadors and, kind of what led me to this place. My husband, Ryan Teal, he had a stroke at the age of 33. So, an ischemic stroke, it was massive, and it kind of turned our world upside down. So, from a caregiver standpoint and from, some witnessing from my end, someone with aphasia and how hard that journey has been, that has been one of the reasons why we do want to be active in our community and be an ambassador and, spread the word about aphasia just from what we've experienced in our own journey. I mean, just from even early on when Ryan was in the hospital with doctors, that you think would know about aphasia, would know how to
Oh,
talk to you or communicate. And that was the biggest shock to me that, we almost had, like, once we learned about aphasia and knew what it was, we almost had to train the doctors. Thought was wild. I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy that we're having to tell them how to communicate." I felt like they should have known that, but yeah, so that just says there's so much more to be done, educating, doctors, nurses, anyone in the medical field that would encounter someone with aphasia to know how to communicate with them, especially in emergency situations or, if they're in pain and things like that. So that's something that we're really passionate about. And we go to teach or, talk and tell our story. We just went to a local event here for Stroke Awareness Month last month.
yeah, good.
Um, yeah, to tell our story. It was a local hospital, and it was great to get to meet other people like us who have, been down that hard path of recovery and just talk to them and know that we're not alone, that we have each other, and that there are resources and things out there to help you get better. And it's just having that connection, which is so valuable, for both me as a caregiver and for Ryan. I know. So we feel very passionate about, like I said, creating awareness however we can from, his perspective, or from, like I said, a caregiver. So that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to be an ambassador, and to share resources because I don't know for you, Phil, but when we were going through kind of the system, once he had a stroke, has aphasia, then he went to the Shepherd Center here in Atlanta, and then it's a wonderful program, but there were still some gaps in that recovery process, and especially from an adult perspective. There's a lot of research and a lot of resources out there to help children. I feel like more for children than there are for adults sometimes. And, in our journey, we were like, man, we really need some accessible resources to help Ryan practice reading aloud and, just reading sometimes and improving his writing. And, some of the resources that we had encountered were very elementary. So they're very kid like, or maybe they were just really outdated stuff. I'm sure you.
Yeah, I have that stuff too. Like, okay, I am a car. Yeah, like, but we have resources now too. But before that, it's like I'll do anything I can. But yeah, I know it's like I'm not a kid.
Yeah, and when you have aphasia, you're faced with this crazy goal of learning speech again, and you're starting from square one, and trying to work on those like functional phrases to help you advocate for yourself and be comfortable being in the community again is so important. Because I know that's something that Ryan really struggled with. He was very embarrassed to go out and try to talk to people in the beginning because he thought people would think, he was stupid or something was wrong with him, or, they wouldn't understand what was going on with him, which I know a lot of people struggle with. And that's why awareness is so important, because he
Yes.
is still so smart. I mean, he's the smartest person I know. And it's just, he has trouble putting those words together sometimes to get them out like he used to. So that's just part of it. But, that was one of the reasons why we created Aphasia Readers. We worked with the University of Michigan. He went and did that the first year he had his stroke and in his recovery. We were blessed enough to go there for, a month to go get intensive speech therapy for him. And we initially wanted them to develop the books. We were like, here, guys, like, this is what we need, can you do it? So, but they were like, unfortunately, we don't have the bandwidth to do that right now. And so we were kind of bummed about that. But, after kind of a lot of prayer and soul seeking, we thought, this people really need this. And, we talked to other people in the aphasia community about it. And they're like, yeah, we would love something like this. And so we just were like, well, we'll do it. We'll fund it and try to figure out a way to do it. And we did it. And
So cool. I
all,
mean,
all the
trust me.
pieces came together. So, and, thankfully, the University of Michigan, their speech pathologists, who are just amazing. I can't say enough good things about them. They were like, we will consult with you and just oversee the writing of the book and kind of what you need. And so, working with them and then working with our neurologist, we were able to kind of put these together and put those out there. And it's purely a passion project for us, because, we needed those. So we felt maybe someone else needs those too.
They do. They do.
Yeah,
Trust me.
yeah. Yeah. And so there's 3 books out there. They're beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And the beginner is very simple, short sentences, 1 syllable, 2 syllable words, very simple. And we have icons above some of the words to help with word retrieval, because that's so important too, is that visual support sometimes, to kind of get that word out. And then
Aphasia.
yes, it's difficult. And so you need all the help you can get when you're trying to read and, kind of make those new connections in your brain to get them out. And then we have some, pictures, updated fun pictures to help with writing support. So you can practice your writing skills with, some of the little sessions. There's 8 sessions that we call in a book, and they're different. They cover different topics. So one may be phrases that you might need getting ready for the day. Like with Ryan, he always needed help tying his shoes, and he could never say, "Tie my shoe, please." So that was
Okay.
one of the phrases that we put in the book. So, identifying some of those key phrases to help you be independent or advocate for yourself. So a lot of thought went into that development process. And, but they're great. They're flexible. You can practice as many or as much as you want, depending, because I know some people have neurofatigue. So that can be hard. So we really tried to be really thoughtful about the design of the book, the colors, to make sure they're calming, and even from the spiral bound structure of it, to make sure it lays flat in case you have a weaker right side, because sometimes it's hard to keep a perfect bound book open, when you can't hold it. So like I said, we really tried to be very thoughtful about all that. But most of the proceeds that we get from each book go into creating awareness. So either supporting intensive aphasia programs across the country that we're familiar with, or supporting events, or putting that money back into writing more books, because sometimes, it can be expensive to
Yeah.
do that, but we want to do more, to put more out there. But like I said, it's purely a passion project. And so we started with those, and then we have a lot of great resources on our website for caregivers to help practice speech with their loved ones. we call our most popular one is fridge functional phrases, which try saying
Say
that
it
5 times.
again. No. Then you said that. I was
Here
like,
you
what,
said
what did you say to me? Aphasia? What did you say to me?
no. So there is kind of a tongue twister, but those kind of came about with, as a busy caregiver and juggling everything, trying to get Ryan to therapy. We would have events that would come up like birthday parties or weddings or baby showers or things like that, where I couldn't help but notice Ryan was a little not like he wasn't engaging in conversation, and that can be lonely. And so I created these really simple one pager documents that are filled with phrases that might help you communicate with other people and hold dialogue, and you could just print them out, put them on your fridge, and practice it before a big event,
Okay.
and it's super helpful, just to help reduce that loneliness. Because I mean, loneliness is something I think it's not talked about enough, when it comes to caregiver groups and people with aphasia. It is kind of like it it's the dark place that nobody really wants to address and talk about how to fix that. But I don't know if there is a way to fix it, but it's difficult, from both sides of the spectrum. And those sheets or worksheets or printables were designed to really help tackle that loneliness that people feel in those social situations, because it can feel overwhelming, but yeah, so we've got all different kinds of things on our website, free resources. We've got some things from the University of Michigan, aphasia program. We've got some blog posts from people who are, developing new things for new travel techniques, new sporting techniques for people with aphasia. So we really try to cover a lot of like adaptive techniques and resources that people might want to know about, from that perspective.
Yeah, there'll be a link for everything in my video. So, is anything else?
No, just like I said, we're excited to be a part of the ambassador program and hope that we can support however we can, whether it be with more books or more speeches. We love to go and speak and tell our story and to help other people, because it just feels like it's part of the healing process for me anyway. And so the more people we can help, the happier and more healed we can become. So like I said, I just appreciate to be here with you today and to tell that story and to share our resources with you.
Love you so, and thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon.